Stay away from QYLD and other covered call funds. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Right now is not the time to be investing in these. All right. I did a video 3-4 years ago on how I got burned by selling covered calls. And this is exactly what happened to me, what's going on right now. I get a lot of emails about QYLD because people are very intrigued by the 11.41% distribution yield and trailing 12 months. That's how much it paid over the last 12 months relative to the current price, which is $17.52. People are like, whoa, I can get 11%. It's interesting. Look at the volume here. See how much is generated interest. Look at that. The last 2 years is really generated. I mean, look, the volume down here is nothing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, lots of volume. All right. So what they do is they basically pay every month is what they're going to pay because they're paying it based on the premiums they generate from selling options against their current holdings. That's what's called a buy right strategy. You're buying and holding. In this case, is I think they buy the NASDAQ 100. I'm not sure if they're buying the Qs. I don't know. Don't care. Don't need to know. They're buying X amount of shares off an index or of a stock. In this case, I think it's the index. And they're selling calls against that to generate income. And their calls are every 1 month. And I think they said at the money calls. All right. So they're generating a certain level of income off the investments that they have. Now, the problem with that is I'm going to share with you, and that's why they're getting a higher yield because like, look at this yield, man. I could live off that. Yeah, you couldn't live on that. I'll show you. So right now we are down this year to date. This guy's down 1.18% today. And I think the markets are actually, down year to date. This guy's down 21% year to date. What's the markets doing right now? Markets are up. Yeah, markets are up. Look at that. So year to date, they're down 21%. Over 5 years, they're down 26%. And that's basically because of this right here, what has happened. All right. So the reason you don't want to buy it is quite simple. And as the markets fall, what happens is you're selling. So the markets are down 20%. Actually, NASDAQ's probably down 30%. I think NASDAQ, is down 30%. All right, so you're selling options against holdings that are down 30% in value. What that inherently means is that when the market goes back up, those options are going to lock in your losses. This is exactly what happened to me. You're writing calls to generate income against a market that's dropping and dropping and dropping. Ultimately, you can't continue to do that because you have no money left because the markets have gone down so much and you got no money left, especially for you who are not reinvesting your dividends. I cannot stress this enough. Now, what happens is, even worse so, is now let's just say you bottom out and you're writing calls against a market that's increasing. You're not going to capture those increases because the calls take the shares away from you. I know this is complex. I'm just telling you. Don't do this. Don't get sucked into the 11% yield. So I'm going to show you right now. We're going to go to Portfolio Visualizer. All right, so we're going to go back to inception since the QYLD, which I think is 2013. All right, we're just going to we're not going to do any withdrawals. All right, we're just going to put $10,000 in. We're going to compare it to the S&P 500. Easy peasy. All right, so we're going to look at Global X NASDAQ Covered Call Index, where we're getting 11% yield. We're going to reinvest everything. We're going to look at compare the NASDAQ or against the S&P 500. Our 10,000 is at 17, basically 18,000 right now. With the S&P 500 is at 25,000, basically 26,000 bucks. All right, so we've averaged in this the QYLD 7.2. Well, how can that be when we're getting 11.41? Because we're selling on shares that are declining in value. We're locking in those losses. NASDAQ S&P 500 is up 12.12% annually. All right. Max drawdown in the covered call was almost the same as the S&P 500, 17 to 19% or 20%. Basically the same drawdown, i.e. downside risk, and yet we've only got half the return. It's crazy. All right, so let's keep going. That's without taking any money out. Let's just take the dividends out. We're going to say we're not going to reinvest the dividends, and this is where it gets pretty ugly. We're going to say at 11.41, we're going to take the cash out. Watch what happens. And it only makes sense because you're taking out dividends that are fake. So, oh my goodness, here's the blue. After $10,000 is now at $7,500. S&P 500 taking the dividends out is still at $22,000. This is what happens. Here comes the right here, the income. So you're making the 11%. So here we're making $1,000 on $10,000 in 2014. That's a 10% dividend, which we're spending. Pablo, Here we're making 863. Here we're making 800. Here we're making 739. Here we're making 1,000. Here we're making 909, 926, 1,000. We'll probably make another 1,000. You see what has happened though? The dividends aren't increasing. The dividends are actually going down. Now here's what happened to the S&P 500. We're making $194 of dividends back in 2014. Now we're making 296. So we've increased our dividends by, basically, what's that, 35%. Our dividends have gone up by 35% roughly. Here we're at 1,010. Here at the best case scenario, the dividends are at, and that's literally the best case scenario, the dividends are up 10%. But even that, 926, 909, 1,038. So we're basically not even making any more than we did. Oh, but by the way, look at this. Our portfolio is down. We're down 25% relative to where we were. So we were at $10,000. Now we're at 7,500. It's going to be a near impossibility to ever get back to where we were and a price to value, because you're selling the shares when the markets are down. That's how option strategies work. They force you to sell the shares. It's nuts. And then on top of that, we'll never get back to any kind of semblance of dividends. It's over. And that's during the good times. Wait till the bad times come. So you can see, let's see what this done. So I don't think it's going to be as of May. I think it'll be as of June, as of April. Let's see what's done so far this year. All right. So far this year, we're down 12.8. The S&P 500 is down. That's as of the end of April, by the way. S&P 500 is down 13%. All right. And we've made so far this year, what does that say? $370 of dividends. S&P has only made 29. All right. So now we're well below where we were. All right. We know that for a fact. We're well below where we were because we took the income off. We're about half as good as on the upside as the S&P 500 if we reinvest everything. So what if we just took a fixed 5% a year? We're going to say $500 a year adjusted for inflation on and we're going to reinvest the dividends. Yeah, we're going to reinvest the dividends. So we're not even taking the dividends out. What are we looking at there? This is the thing. You can't make a better mousetrap, man. Yeah, you can't. So what's the? Let's go back to 2013. Since it's we'll say 2012. To make sure we capture the full of 2013. Hey, baby, we're going to analyze. All right, so where we are now. Oh, my lands. Here's the QYLD. It's at 23,000. The S&P 500 is at 32,000. All right, that's what taking 5% a year off, adjusted for inflation. I mean, it's like if you're taking essentially all the risk, but you're not getting all the return. You're just not. Yeah, you can be living large if we go back to not reinvesting dividends for a couple of years. Right here, none. I mean, you can be living large the first couple of years by taking the dividends right here compared to the S&P 500 because you're basically pulling out your principals. What's happening? You got $1,000, 900, 863. The S&P is only at 220. So you're getting four times more than the S&P 500. But that comes with a cost. It comes with the long-term stability of your portfolio, man. Yeah. Look, if you want the income, just do a freaking SPIA. At least a SPIA will be for the rest of your life. But again, when you're selling calls in a down market, you're locking in your losses, which means you're going to have limited upside, very limited upside, and on top of that, you're locking in lower dividends because you're not going to capture the upside to give you more shares. It just doesn't make any sense, man. You're locking in the downside, and you're locking in your dividends, and you can't ever get out from underneath that. It's one thing selling in an up market because you get the gains on the income from the holdings, the dividends, plus any capital appreciation. It's a whole nother ball game selling, writing covered calls in a down market. I'm just telling you, man, it's a recipe for disaster. So the way to avoid that is just recognize I can't beat the market, man. Let me just freaking be in the market, recognizing the market is risky, but I hate to say it, so it wasn't this fun. It's just that simple. All right. Love your thoughts. We'll see you